Oh boy, Dead Rising. Other than being the Resident Evil Outbreak guy, Dead Rising is one of the things that got me my start in content creation. My original walkthrough of the game, made in the olden days of YouTube, is still one of my most viewed videos of all time. Hard to believe it's been so long that a remake is hitting the shelves now. And yes, I'm going to call it a remake. Because that's what it is. It was fully remade in a brand new engine. So after playing it, I can kind of understand why they wanted to go with the remaster title. There's very little meaningful difference between this and the original. Sure, there's a bunch of little changes, and they snuck in some neat secrets that weren't there before. But it's actually amazing how faithful this game is, with so much of it a one-for-one copy, even down to certain secrets. It's mostly just a new coat of paint on a classic, but some things would have been better left in 2006 if you ask me. Hi there, I'm Areku, your local horror game playing emotional support VTuber. Today we're reviewing the Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, as they call it, and I think it's pretty good. Let's get on into it. Dead Rising is a pretty well-known series at this point, so if you're here you probably know the basics. But just in case, the main things you need to know is Frank West is a photographer on a quest for a career-making scoop. He gets a tip-off something is happening in Willamette, Colorado. He flies in and quickly lands in the middle of a zombie outbreak in a giant mall, and tries to save as many people as he can while uncovering why this all happened. The series is known for drastic differences in tone between its story and gameplay, with the gameplay typically being pretty comedic with lots of zombie gore, but the story being pretty serious and dark, if a little campy.
You know how to use this?
Kinda. I've covered wars, you know.
Making for a bit of funny whiplash between the two, especially when you have to improvise your weapons from things around the mall. Not gonna spoil too much, but as far as this remake goes, it is by far the most faithful remake I've ever played. To the point it feels like the same game at points. But there are some differences that I'll go over. Of course, the first thing you'll notice in the remake is everyone has new models. Some better, some worse. It kind of feels like every character has been aged up 10 years or so. Frank has more wrinkles and gray hair. Isabella looks more mature. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but not sure why they did it like this. Jessie at least looks comparable, even though she's totally rocking an RE4 Ashley face. Also, new Carlito is pretty hot, not gonna lie. Why are you making that face, Carlito? Ooh. You wanna kiss me so bad.
Good.
Other than that, there's not much difference you'll notice immediately. It's actually pretty impressive that they've managed to capture a similar, if not exactly the same game feel as the original. Everything is there, even iconic secrets like the infinite orange juice cabinet for healing and the secret Uzi in Paradise Plaza. But eventually the bigger differences will start to show. I think the biggest change is how weapons and items have been rebalanced. Most players of the original at this point know the trick to get the mini chainsaw weapon and 3 books to make it last a very long time, essentially steamrolling the game. Not to break some hearts, but this doesn't work anymore. The mini chainsaw is way weaker. It doesn't even one-shot zombies most of the time now. However, as a trade-off, weapons you get from later bosses are much stronger, adding a bit of progression to your weaponry. So while you will ditch the mini chainsaw pretty quick, you can still reach overpowered status eventually. Honestly, I kinda like this better, as most of the boss weapons in the OG were kinda useless compared to the mini chainsaw that you got near the beginning. Guns also feel way better with the addition of moving and shooting, and there's a book you can get from the first Carlito encounter to increase gun damage. I held onto this book for the entire game. It made some bosses just a complete joke. This might honestly be the new best item in the game if you ask me. Hint hint. So make sure you don't miss it. One thing I also noticed is the notorious convicts are way more of a threat now due to smarter AI. They don't just get stuck on a tree and let you escape anymore. Watching them swerve their car around, it feels like the devs intentionally coded them to avoid trees this time, which is pretty funny. There's also a lot of quality of life additions, like every outfit you obtain getting added to the safe room, there being a blender in the safe room to make buffs, and the addition of autosave every time you go through a loading screen. Some people might find that last one rather controversial, as it absolutely makes things easier to be able to reload the moment anything goes wrong. But as someone who did their time, potentially losing hours of progress to one mistake, I'm fine with it. Oh, and every character is voiced now, from Otis to the survivors to everybody. I feel like this is kind of expected of remasters and remakes these days, but still, it's super nice they took the effort to do this.
What's the matter? Are you okay?
Grace! Oh, there's Grace! My baby! Oh, my baby!
And we will be holding the Willamette Park 3rd anniversary
Poor Leia.
extravaganza.
You got separated from your kid?
Grace is my baby.
And that's really about it for changes that I felt actually mattered. For better or worse, honestly, my biggest disappointment with this game is how similar everything is. But despite it technically being a remake, it really does feel like a remaster since it's so one-for-one. Hence the name Deluxe Remaster, I assume. Honestly, my biggest hope as someone who plays Dead Rising games to rescue every survivor was that the AI would be a little smarter. And they're definitely better, but only slightly. They still have a ton of problems and are absolutely still outdone by Dead Rising 2 Survivor AI. Which is really weird since that game is like 15 years old now. Some moments hurting these survivors like headless chickens gave me flashbacks to the days working on my perfect run walkthrough here on YouTube. Can I just say I cannot believe it's been over 16 years since I made that? Where does the time go? But hey, at least carrying people still makes you mostly zombie grab immune. That's always nice. Anyway, as a final note, there is some awkward censorship, like the complete removal of the erotica genre of photos. Whenever you take a photo for experience in this game, it gets assigned a genre, and erotica was one of them in the original. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and all those erotica photo ops are still in the game, including the awkward Cheryl event. But they're just renamed to drama, or have no genre altogether. It's just kinda weird. In the end, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is more of a new coat of paint on an old classic, with some rebalancing. The lack of effort to actually improve the experience makes me a little disappointed, but what can you do? There are a couple more differences I didn't get into, but they come very late and aren't very major, so I won't spoil them. Is it better than the original? I think so, but only slightly, and certainly not enough to sway an opinion if someone didn't like the OG. If you liked the original game, you'll probably like this, and if you didn't like the OG, you'll still hate this version. If you've never played Dead Rising before at all though, I'd recommend this version just for the quality of life it offers. Give it a shot. It's fantastic. Hey there. Thanks for watching. I have been having some crazy computer and technical issues lately that's really hindered my content, so this video is not as long as I would have liked. But I hope it helped you decide if you want to check this remake out. Remake, remaster. The line between the two is even more muddied now, I assume. But hey, if you like what you see, remember to like and subscribe, and come check out my stream sometime. I stream 4 times a week right now. Remember to take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.